Hello. Today then we're going to make some beer. I have made beer in the past, but I've only made it using these kits and this sort of stuff. And it was reasonably successful, but a bit lame really. So we're going to do it properly because Mark's here and he's a brewing expert. Always the next best thing. With the first donation to the beer fund that I received via PayPal, I bought this massive sack of grain. And we've now collected all the rest of the ingredients that we need to make a proper English ale. Mark's come up with a recipe. If the recipe is successful, we will publish it, and then you at home can also make Ironthumper Ale. We're aiming for an English ale, a traditional English ale.
Very English, darkish, fairly hoppy, none of this hipster citrus tones or anything, just something pretty traditional and drinkable.
Quite so.
We've got a mixture of grains. We've got a big sack of Maris Otter malt just over there, just out of shot. There's a 25 kilo sack of that. So we're going to use that as our base malt. I've got a few odds and ends here. I've got some crystal malt, which we're going to use to give it a bit of colour, a little bit of depth. I've got some chocolate malt, which we'll be using in a tiny, tiny amount. That's some properly roasted barley there, just to give it a little bit of a darker colour. And then we've got some torrefied wheat, which I don't normally brew with, but I thought as we're trying to make a sort of typically English ale, that should give us a nice head, a nice body to it. On top of that, we've got some East Kent Goldings, and we've got some Challenger hops. So nothing particularly interesting or craft or anything about that. We're going for something bog standard English ale. And along with that, a standard tried and tested ale yeast, which should be fine for this. Plan is we're going to try and brew all this up in a single pot solution here, using an old Women's Institute tea urn, which we use as the mash tun, the boiler. Everything just gets done in this one container. Some people might turn their nose up at that. There'll be purists who say you need a lauter tun, a mash tun, all these separate bits and pieces, but this is just a method I've always used and it's always worked for me. And hopefully it should get us a decent amount of drinkable ale without too much trouble. We've got all these brewing barrels. We've had the pump going all morning with the ceramic filter to give us super clean rainwater, which is what we're going to try and use for brewing. Mark's slightly dubious about that because it's not... Apparently you have to go to Burton-on-Trent to get your water if you want to make beer, but I don't think so. Okay, I've come up with a recipe and I've used a freely available bit of software called Beer Engine, which I always use to sanity check any recipes before I make them. It makes you, it gives you all the info you need on whether you've got the right amounts of grain, what kind of hop profile to expect, that kind of thing, and I've found it's fairly bomb-proof. First step is going to be to get our water ready for putting the grains in, so we're going to take 18 litres of water. We're going to heat it up to about 75 degrees C, which is a little over what we want for mashing, but when we put the grains in, that'll drop the temperature down. While we're waiting for the water to heat up, we'll weigh out the grains and make sure that we've got all those together. We'll stick them in a sparging bag, which is effectively just like a bit of a cheesecloth pillowcase, which we need because we're doing a one-pot version of this. Once we've measured the grains out, got it up to temperature, we'll be ready to pop it in, get some insulation around the pot, and then leave it for an hour and a half for the first mash to happen. We've got an 18 litre mark on there, which is how much water we need in there to actually start the mash. And then I need a 27 litre mark on there, which is what the level's going to be at when the boil's finished. This is an easier way than trying to muck about with other ways of... to know when the boil's finished properly, you should be measuring the gravity, getting a sample, taking the temperature down to 20 degrees C, measure the specific gravity and see if that's the end gravity of your brew. But most of the time I find, providing you're down to roughly the right level, if you've weighed everything out right, you get the same effect without having to faff about with the hydrometer. So this here is an electric boiler. We don't have enough solar, well actually no, we don't really have enough solar power to power that. So on with the diesel and we'll get this nice and warm. Yes, so I think we planned to get up early and get cracking with the beer making, and that didn't happen. And then what happened? Then we had a visitor who bought us chips. And then we went down chips. How far behind schedule are we? Well, I was hoping to be at this stage by about 9:30 this morning. I see. And what time is it now? Now it's 3:45. So we're running about 6.5 hours behind schedule. 5 kilos of that pale malt. So we. Cool, perfect. Right, bang that one in. So that's all the
a lot of
pale malt.
Marisotto.
Marisotto. Make sure we're on 0. Just about. Right, we need 500 grams of this, which is the crystal malt.
Oh, that smells really nice and rich.
Yeah, so that's just been roasted slightly differently, so that gives it a bit of a darker.
Can I try a little bit?
Yeah, if you want.
Oh gosh.
Starch.
But it tastes rich.
Does it taste slightly burnt?
Yeah.
Compare
How
it
am I
to the
meant
chocolate
to-
in a bit.
My hands aren't big enough. Really compare the colour now, if you look at both of them.
And then we need 500 grams of the wheat.
What's the wheat? Oh, that's
So that's torrefied wheat.
It tastes like mealworms.
If you feed their children mealworms. I blame Stefan Gates, Gastronaut TV, for that one. Right, this one is a bit special. So this is the chocolate malt.
You don't have to put much in there.
No, we need 15 grams of that. So tiny amount. So this is barley that's been toasted to within an inch of its life, basically. And beers like stout, porters and things have this sort of stuff going on.
That smells like coffee.
Yeah, very much like coffee. I think our grandparents' generation used to do all sorts of, they used to make malt drinks and have sort of before bedtime and stuff, which would have been just like brewing up beer but not fermenting it. Right, so add that to the mix, and it doesn't look like it would make much difference, but it really does. And now we're just waiting for this water to heat up to temperature. And it's getting sort of bathtub temperature now. I need to be at 73 degrees. And I need to make sure the temperature, once the grains are in, is below 75 degrees. Yeah, I think probably building some kind of Arduino based proper little box on that would be good. Another cool thing that might be worth putting on it is if I rigged up the element in there through a couple of nice IGBT transistors, you could have proper, because I ripped the thermostat out to use it for this, you could have proper thermostatic control then, so you just set it to PID ramp up to 70 whatever. And I think we're getting fairly close. Oh, this is cool. This is called the mash. What we do is we just gently, and what will happen is that temperature will drop now hopefully to our target mash temperature, which is probably somewhere around 65 degrees, a little over, won't hurt. And what's happening now is all those starches and things are going to go into solution here. You can see the temperature dropping already. So if we've done our calculations correctly, we should end up somewhere, the temperature somewhere between 65 and 70 degrees, which is where we want to hold it for an hour and a half or so to let all that conversion take place. Cover that up. So we'll see you in an hour and a half. Right, so that's our hour and a half mashing time over. The temperature's at 66.8 degrees, which is all lovely. Let's see what kind of soup we've got in here. I'm going to try and get it so that the average temperature of it is up above 75 degrees, around 75-80 degrees, so that will activate the next lot of enzymes. We'll leave it at that sort of temperature for an hour while we prepare all the water we have to boil to pour through it, to sparge it, to wash the rest of the sugars out of the grains, and then we can add the hops and just boil it down to the concentration we want.
Put it in that. Stop it spreading out.
Yes, I do actually. Try that. That'll be brilliant for doing the sparging. Actually, that's ideal.
So at what point have we made what's in one of these tins?
So what's in one of those tins will be the mash, so the mashed barley. It would have already been mashed to bring all the sugars and everything out of it. Once you've got it to roughly this stage that we're at now, they'll concentrate it down into a syrup, and that's what they put in there. We had a bit of a discussion last night over the water. Because it's rainwater, it's going to be very, very low in with the basic minerals that you'd be used to getting in your normal tap water. Now, certain minerals are required for yeast to be happy and to ferment its own way. Some people add yeast nutrients. Quite a lot of people Burtonise the water or treat their brewing water in some way, adjusting the pH, that kind of thing. Well, we just don't have the facilities to do that. So it turns out in Max's extended apothecary there were some of these quite robust vitamin pills, and reading the data sheet on them, they contain a load of vitamins and minerals, lots of stuff that would probably put the sort of ions in solution that the yeast is going to be quite happy to use. No harm in trying it. We need to try and dissolve this, probably almost like crushing it up and making it snortable, just to get it into solution, and then we'll stick it in with the boil and see what happens. Right, but amazingly, if ever you need to crush a pill into very fine powder for any reason, it would appear that a certain Swedish department store garlic press is just the thing you need. Other garlic presses are available,
but not as good.
But that one's pretty full on, isn't it?
Oh, my mum's doing that.
Yeah, I'll have to get myself one of these. That one's still got a way to go. We'll weigh out the hops, I think. Challenge is going to be our main hop, and we're going to stick 50 grams of that in for the full 90 minutes.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
If you took photos of this back in the old getting your film developed at Boots days, I'm sure you'd have got a knock at the door in fairly short order.
Hold it back and I'll put the hops in.
Yeah, so we're putting this in a bag, and what we're going to do is we're making a big hoppy tea bag. So once we actually start boiling the wort, we can just stick this in there and it'll again infuse like a tea bag. This is low-tech brewing at its finest.
Not that low-tech, using electricity.
I suppose is that. Yeah, I mean we could have done it in a big sort of copper or something, couldn't we?
Done it in the bath and lit a fire underneath it.
You wouldn't let me do that to your bath, would you?
Well, we might have to take it off the decking.
Yeah. Right then, we're fully sparged, so there should be very few residual sugars left in this these grains. We've drained all the liquor out, really. So I think we're ready to put the hops in. Just try and straight in, and what will happen is the rolling boil will keep that moving around, and it just acts like a big tea bag.
Oh god.
See? That needs leaving for an hour and a half to boil away and do its thing.
Great.
And it's just a matter of waiting now until we lose the 9 litres we're trying to get rid of, and then it's into the bath. Then we chuck in the yeast. Then we're making beer.
Wait for a fortnight.
Yes. So this is about the most inefficient way to boil water that we could do here, really. It's painful. Just an empty one of these with a gas ring underneath would have been 1,000 times more efficient.
It would a million times more efficient. I think this is now given rise to the need for another project for Ironthumper Towers, which is either a wood or possibly kerosene or diesel fired boiler for doing beer.
Yes, if I do another brew, I won't be doing it like this, that's for sure. I would be using the furnace burner, which is powered by waste oil, or we'll fire off a wood.
I'm quite liking the idea of a nice efficient wood burner with the copper on top. I'll let you have the copper boiler for that. And I think that could be quite a nice little project. You need your own brewery here, there's no two ways about it. Right, got a sample of it. Need to cool it down. Yeah, I think we're about ready to cool it actually. I think probably the hop bags are yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, so we need to cut the power, I think.
It's 10 o'clock.
That actually means the final boil was almost exactly an hour and a half, which was as planned.
Not too bad after all.
It just took a while to get up to the temperature. Right. We need to... Ready. Yeah. Probably we can just quite sure what's going on here. We do seem to have quite a lot of particulate matter in it. Cool it down to the temperature where we can safely pitch the yeast in without actually killing the yeast. Yes, that'll work. Awesome. It's pretty stable actually. Batteries.
No, I can't be bothered. Right, it's nearly 1 o'clock in the morning. I've got to say the excitement's kind of worn off. I'm going to bring the thing in. It's probably still not down to temperature, but I'm going to go grab it out of the bath. It's been in the bath for some considerable time now, hasn't it?
7 or 8 hours, I think.
Anyway, stand by. I'm not going to get it. Right. 26.
Really?
No, 27. Well, now what, Brewmaster?
I reckon we pitch the yeast in anyway, and if the yeast's hardcore enough, it'll survive, won't it?
Yeah.
A bit later than we originally thought, but then
So was our start.
so was our start, and then I'm going to pitch the yeast, and this should be the first 50 bottles of Ironthumper Ale.
Quite a mission, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hmm. So apparently it's not always like that, Mark.
No, that's probably
You're claiming a standard procedure is a lot.
that's a lot harder work than I'm used to for producing 50 bottles of beer. Quite looking forward to possibly a wood-fired version.
Moral of the story is, why bother with just popping this in with a bit of sugar when you can just simply We're in the sleeping loft and about to look in the wardrobe. Oh, what we got here?
Hey.
Is it brewing, Mark?
Yeah, I mean that looks to me to be doing exactly what it should be doing.
Frostastic.
Frostastic, 24 hours after pitching the yeast.
Ooh.
Job's a good one.
Right, it's been 2 weeks since the brew day, and hopefully the fermentation's finished. So what I'm going to do is go up into the wardrobe, take a sample in this little beaker and measure the gravity of it and see if we've achieved what it should be. In the wardrobe here should be a load of beer. There we go. Smells like beer anyway, that's good. Right, that'll do for our sample. Put that back on. So we need enough beer in there to make the float float. There's a scale, and allowing for the miscus, which is the dip in the level, as the liquid will rise slightly up the side of a tube. So you've got to allow for that when you try and read it. That is 1012. So we've achieved final gravity, so that's good. So now I'm going to decant it from that container that you saw up there into another one to get rid of the sludge that's on the bottom. For the taste test, yeah, it's got something. It's not there yet. That's all we're going to get, and that's what's left in the brewing barrel. Ugh. 24 litres. And I think, going by the recipe, we had 27 in there, so the rest is settled out into that cake that you see at the bottom. Right, this is finished fermenting, so I'm going to, instead of putting it in the back in the wardrobe, which is the warmest place, I'm going to put it somewhere cool. I'm going to pop it in the office. It's now been 3 weeks, or 3 weeks and 2 days I suppose, since we had the brew day and made all this stuff up. So that was 2 weeks in the main fermenter, and then I siphoned it over into this one. It's had a further week, and now it's ready to go in the bottles. I've got loads of these. They're plastic half-litre bottles. I've only got these because I got these with my first brewing kit years and years and years ago. See, I wouldn't necessarily recommend buying these plastic bottles. A better bet would just be to hold back a load of these and clean them and get new caps and use these. I mean, a glass bottle is always going to be a bit classier, isn't it? But I've got them, I might as well use them. What is classy though are my labels. So my mum's been down to visit and she's very kindly designed and printed me a whole raft of labels. You should be able to see there. I think I've got two, yes, I've got two designs. And that one. This conveniently has a tap. Now you might think you can just take your bottle and fill it from the tap, but yeah, I've done that and it's disastrous. What you have to do is to get the beer in the bottle without introducing any more oxygen. I'm going to use some of this stuff. Once I've washed all the dust off the bottles then I'll chuck them all in here, and it's not the easiest thing to submerge but I'll have a go at submerging them and yeah, let them soak in there for a bit. Tops. Mostly very important. Alright, let's try the first bottle. The bit I've got to remember now is to put some sugar in there. So I happen to have a packet of these, one in for every half litre. Put the cap on it. Nice and tight. And we're done. First bottle bottled. It does taste like beer at the moment, but of course it's completely flat, there's no fizz in it whatsoever. So what's going to happen now, I've bottled them in here and I've put in that block of sugar, the remaining yeast that's in here will have something to feed on, and that will consume that sugar and give off carbon dioxide, and that will give me some fizz in the beer. Now, the hard part of brewing beer, I'm going to put it all away somewhere and wait. And here is the end result. Brew day was on the 23rd of March, it's now the 26th of May, so that's just over 2 months. It should be ready. I'm not actually going to taste any just yet. I thought it'd be rude to not wait until Mark comes here again. So I'm going to do that. Next time he turns up, we'll sit down and we'll crack open these and we'll drink a load and we'll record our reactions and give our verdict on whether all that effort was worth it. Rather than make a video just about us drinking beer, I thought it'd be a good idea to answer a few questions as well. I've not actually done a Q&A the whole time I've been running my channel. I get a lot of questions asked to me through the comments section, and I do try to answer as many as I can. Obviously I can't get to all of them, there are rather a lot these days. But this is your chance to, if there's got any burning question you want to ask me or Mark or both of us about anything that we do here, about Project Awesome, about Ironthumper Ale, anything at all, we'll have a look at it. Just write in. My email address is maximisironthumper, all one word, so maximisironthumper@gmail.com. We'll pick as many questions as we can, and yeah, we'll sit down, drink a load of this, answer the questions, and we'll probably have a crate of Stella as a backup just in case this is just brown soup. But for now, thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll see you for the Q&A. Cheers.